You don't have to watch my previous video on a Road to Queendom series, but it might be fun if you haven't already. I've watched every version of Queendom so far, but I am in no way an expert, so these are just going to be the artist I want to see on the third installment. I kinda know what formula Mnet uses to select the contestants, and I have it in the back of my mind, but with the current landscape of idols, it is going to be very hard to replicate it in the next year or two. Before getting into my choices, I'll explain the formula. Contestant number 1 is a former girl group member turned soloist who has had hits in both their group and as a solo act. On Queendom 1, it was 21's Park Bom. On Queendom 2, it was Sistar's Hyorin. While they are established as soloists, they're still identified by their group to many people. Contestant number 2 is a girl group who reached their peak already, and while they are not unsuccessful now, a lineup change has resulted in them being significantly less successful than they were. On Queendom 1, that was AOA after losing Choa. On Queendom 2, that was Vivi's after their disbandment as G-Friend. Contestant number 3 is a girl group currently in their prime, at the peak of their career and hopefully looking towards more success in the future. Queendom 1 had Mamamoo, Queendom 2 had Brave Girls. Contestant number 4 is the one-hit wonder. Although they have many songs beloved by K-pop fans and a fairly stable career, among the general public they only have one hit song. On Queendom 1, that was Lovelyz and Achu. On Queendom 2, it was Ujusonyo and As You Wish. Contestant number 5 is the rising star. They're in the early to middle stages of their career and are becoming more and more known with each release. With an underrated hit in the early days of their career considered the peak of their sound, they have become more known for later releases. Queendom 1 was Oh My Girl and Closer, Queendom 2 was Luna and Butterfly. Finally, contestant number 6 is the monster rookie. On Queendom 1, it was i-dle, on Queendom 2, it was Kepler. Another rule, which is an unofficial rule, is that the contestants have to have a music show win. I don't think they need one from M Countdown specifically, but that's probably a plus because the producers of Queendom 1 looked into the list of M Countdown winners when deciding the first lineup. Again, I'm not intending on following this 100%, especially since most 3rd gen groups that could have been candidates have disbanded, and most 4th gen are either too big, disbanded, or have already been on the show. It's rough out here for us. Someone commented on my last video, and I swear they took a look inside my brain because it reflected basically every single thought I've had about a Queendom 3 lineup while preparing for this video. My soloist pick would be Chungha. She debuted in IOI and has had multiple hit songs in her own right, and I think the show is exactly the kind of jumpstart her career needs after leaving her company. My past their prime pick would be A-Pink. One of very few girl groups from the late 2nd, early 3rd gen left standing, and their track record speaks for itself. My current prime pick is Dreamcatcher. They finally hit a stride in their career, and while they may not be one of the biggest groups ever, they're definitely in the peak of their career right now. My one-hit wonder would be STAYC. Kind of a stretch since they do have 3 really popular songs, but somebody has to fit that bill and they're the closest to it. My rising star is Billie. Technically, STAYC and Billie are interchangeable. They could both be considered rising stars and one-hit wonders, but Billie are the younger group, so. Finally, the super rookie is replaced by our Road to Queendom winner Weekly. Honorable mentions to aespa, Tiara, Everglow, and fromis 9, who were all at one point or another seriously being considered. I know some comments really wanted to see i-dle or UA or similar underrated groups in this video, but they do not fit the criteria I was looking at as much as I love them. Maybe in a year or two they'll be more viable as candidates for Queendom 4. I'm just going to assume they're bringing back Taeyeon for the show, but I think it would be nice to have Solar like I suggested in my last video. Without any further ado, let's get into the performances. Up first is the 90-second to 2-minute intro. This is about establishing your identity in the competition, what audiences can expect from you, and putting your best foot forward. Some examples include Soyeon rapping in i-dle's intro, and Luna's choreography in their own. STAYC are up first with a remix of their smash hit, Poppy. Exaggerating the smash hit a bit, but definitely one of their bigger songs among recent releases. Poppy, 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 Following that is Billie with a combination of 2 songs, the first being an intro in the vein of Ring Ma Bell, The Howling Wind, which I imagine to be a bit of a modern dance sequence. The second is Lionheart, The Real Me, which would showcase their stronger performance. Chungha brings her song Masquerade to show off her dance and live vocals. Dreamcatcher have so many great intros to choose from, and I've literally been thinking about what they would do for years, since until last year they've always been on my list of groups that would win Road to Queendom. I finally decided that Skit the 7 Doors shows off their skills and versatility the most. Weekly do their second intro in the series with one of their newest B-sides, Odyssey. I think the lyrics would be very fitting. Ending the intros would be A-Pink with a mix of two of their most recent titles that encompass both the new and the old A-Pink, Dilemma and D&D. Again, no points for the intros. That brings us to honestly my favorite stages since they always get the chance to be the most elaborate. The hit song remake. This is the challenge where each contestant has to choose one of their hit songs to remake, redress, reinvent. This is really the chance to push the boundaries set for each artist because as hit songs, the songs in this round are beloved. Screwing this up is a one-way ticket to losing the competition. We saw it with Lovelyz, and we saw it with Kep1er. I think Chungha would be one of the most confident ones to go first, so I completely agreed when the randomizer placed her first. Somebody has to take on the role of doing a traditional concept, and I truly think no song would be more suited to a traditional remix than Gotta Go. Turn those opening, I want to say synths, but they might just be distorted horns or flutes, into a traditional flute, play into the Cinderella themes with a Korean princess concept, have the first chorus open with an outfit reveal into a modernized hanbok, but don't just tear the clothes off. Have the backup dancers run around her with red or white fabric to cover it up and give the reveal more texture. Oh, also steal a page from Sunmi's book and use those giant fans from Heartburn to elevate the performance. After that, we have Weekly with, expectedly, After School. I think what I would most like to see would be a rock remix with a musical vibe. What I'm seeing in my head is a stage that brings back all the nostalgia of a 2000s teen movie with some heavy Avril Lavigne inspiration. Kind of like if you mix together Luna's Pose stage with the Glow Up stage from Puzzle, but in a pop-punk kind of way. I wasn't sure how it would be possible for Dreamcatcher to keep their unique color without the classic rock elements, especially for a song like Maison. But then I heard this epic cinematic remix and I was sold. This is insane. I'm seeing such an elaborate stage where they have set pieces that look like ruins, and at the final chorus things just go absolutely insane with the choir doing the La Maison part and the LED screens and lights playing together to look like a thunderstorm, a wind machine. Oh, it would be amazing. Summer home in the jungle. Summer home in the Stacey are so lucky their CEO is also their in-house producer and a certified hitmaker because I have kinda no idea how they should remix Run to You. I have like a vague idea in my head of them using sirens in a way that's reminiscent of Little Mix's Salute instead of the actual song intro. I'm literally blanking, but I know it should be Run to You because the official remix shows the potential it has to become a completely new song. And with Billie, we run into the same problem where I know it has to be Gingamingayo, but I have no idea how it would be executed. I think it needs a club remix similar to Flipping a Coin. Maybe the verses could stay pretty much the same, but the chorus is the most different. Like after the Do You Understand, something happens like a lightning strike with thunder and we go into a full-on horror remix with strings and everything playing into their storyline. Maybe they could even incorporate flashlights into the stage. I've really just run out of juice, I think, because why are all of my ideas just gone? None left. Anyways, A-Pink remix of Ung in my head starts with the ooze from the intro alone, but with like heavy drums in between. Hold on, I need to see if I can create a very rough idea of this. The first verse is then very stripped back with mostly just vocals. I don't know what story they're telling, but in my head it's kind of like a Pink version of Brave Girl's Chima Bottom stage. To me, the winner is between Chungha and Dreamcatcher, and I think they would easily take the majority of the votes. I think Dreamcatcher would just barely take the win, so the top two are really close to each other in points, and the other four would be pretty far behind, only because of how the point breakdown works. So like, if there's 1,000 votes available, Dreamcatcher got like 350, Chungha got 324, and the others split the rest of the 326 votes, kinda. These are not real numbers, by the way, just explaining why the points are going to be messy. That means Dreamcatcher gets 7,000 points, and since the rest is a percentage allocation, Chungha got 92.5% of their votes, so she gets 92.5% of their points. But I don't like keeping track of messy numbers, so I'm rounding up to 6,500. Billy are third with 4,000 points. I told you there would be a gap. Stacey take 3,800 points, A-Pink 2,400, and Weekly are left with 2,300. Anyone could still win. Luna finished in second when they didn't get any points from round 1. So round 2 is the song switch round. Being the winner, Dreamcatcher get to choose first, but since I am not Dreamcatcher, I just used a randomizer again, and they were assigned Billy, which I think fits. They have similar but distinct vibes. Chungha should then be second, and she got assigned Weekly, which I also think fits. And that leaves A-Pink and Stacey, which again, works out to me, but we'll start with Dreamcatcher. The randomizer also decided Dreamcatcher would be first, so I went with Everybody's Got a Secret because I know they could make it their own with a remix like Because. I think they would do a really cool haunted doll performance concept, maybe a marionette concept. I hope you guys get the vision because I have such a clear image and audio in my head, but I cannot for the life of me explain it.
Everybody's got a secret.
After them is Chungha covering Weekly. I went back and forth a lot on this one before deciding she would probably do Solar. I could see her going for a Wen Para, but I think reinventing Solar is both the better option and the option that suits Chungha more. I could also see her pulling a Pak Bom on this stage and getting one of her many idol friends to feature on the stage. I think the biggest collapse would be getting Nayoung, who was with her in IOI. She could do a really anthemic remix. The song is already structured for it, she just needs to strip back the instrumentals in the verses/pre-chorus, add some big drums, bonus points for having 2 guys on stage just there to hit the drum props. Add in some horns and take some inspiration from Alexa for the styling.
Ready, yeah. Do you hear that?
Following Chungha, we have Billy serving Dreamcatcher realness with their reinterpretation of Boca. I didn't really know where they would take it, but then I heard a metal remix and I think the intro and chorus are exactly it, but I would rather they go for an emptier verse with maybe not quite a xylophone, but something similar, keeping the beat until the rap break, which is when these low, ominous drums come in, and have a choir at the bridge. It's needed. Stacey followed that up with their version of A-Pink's I'm So Sick. I thought for a while about how they might reinvent it because in its original form it's so similar to their style anyways, but I eventually settled on turning it into an emotional orchestral ballad. I don't know what it is, but something about turning synths into strings just appeals to me. I literally just realized that I'm So Sick is a Black Eyed Pills song, that's why I feel like it suits Stacey. Oh my god. A-Pink and Stacey really decided to make things difficult for me because I know I want A-Pink to do Stereotype, but it is a little too hard for me to figure out how they should remix it. I could hear it as both a synthwave and a 20s jazz remix. Perhaps we could get the best of both worlds and create something kind of like Taeyeon's Weekend a little bit, like the retro-sounding intro with the slightly more modern verses and a fully city pop chorus. They could have some horns in there too for texture. And just as I wrote this, I came across Stacey's 2021 SBS Gayo performance, so I'm putting it down as a reference. Finally, we're at Weekly's cover of a Chungha song, and I decided to go with IOI's What a Man. I think it has both the biggest performance potential, and it's one of the titles, and it's the one title in IOI's discography that would suit Weekly at this stage in their career. It's already a pretty dramatic track, but I think that they fully leaned into the sort of Dreamgirls, Destiny's Child vibes by having 2 separate trios start off the stage as silhouettes. Like, really just turn the dial on the song up to 200 with explosive instrumentals, insane vocals, maybe add in a dance break, then make the ending even more impactful by repeating the last What a Man twice, once with remnants of the instrumentals, then with no instrumentals, just vocals. Then some pyrotechnics to close the show. Oh, I feel so bad about these rankings, but I also agree with how the bias order ranked it, so here goes nothing. In first place with 7,000 points is Weekly and What a Man. Definitely edged forward by going last, but also, this song has been iconic for literal decades, you can't really compete with that. And as a little side note, they might get an extra push because people really hate the elimination concept. Second, with 5,400 points, is Dreamcatcher with Everybody's Got a Secret. Not only do I think going first would help a lot, I also think they have probably the strongest fandom on the show, and I sincerely doubt they would lose any votes from their own fan base. Then at 4,800 points, we have Billy. Being able to execute Boca would give them a lot of goodwill, and I do think some insomnias in the crowd would give them their second vote just because it's a Dreamcatcher song. Maybe it could have had more impact as a traditional concept, but who wants to see 2 of those on one show? Either way, rock remixes tend to do really well on survival shows when the vocals live up to it, and I believe Billy's will. In fourth, netting a cool 3,600 points, we have Chungha with Solar. Not much to add on that one. 5th and 6th then goes to A-Pink and Stacey respectively, with each getting 3,100 and 2,500 points. A funny trend I noticed on Queendom 1 and 2 is that the bottom two on this round usually cover each other's songs. Bomb and i-dle, Kepler and Brave Girls. I don't think it's a comment on how well the songs were executed, but I also noticed at least one of the stages is too similar to the original, and the other tries a gimmick that doesn't really work in hindsight. Our current ranks are then Dreamcatcher 12,400 points and still in 1st. In 2nd, Changha scores a well-earned 10,100. Weekly managed to climb the ranks to 3rd, scoring 9,300 points. Billy come in 4th with their 8,800 points. In the bottom, we have Stacey at 6,300 points in 5th place, and A-Pink in last with 5,500. The tides can still turn. That brings us to the vocal round, which I am personally very excited for because I have ideas. So first, the first team is comprised of Changha with Billy's Haram and Soohyun. Changha, obviously being a soloist, will represent herself, while Billy sends their representative main vocals. On this show, we are also assuming full group participation, by the way. For them, I wanted something with impact, something to really show off. And who would be a better candidate than Miss i-dle herself? I had a few options, but I went with I Will Show You, and they're going to do a stage with a piano where they're each on different parts of it. One sitting and playing it, one standing and leaning on it, the last draped over it. Think 20s jazz bar with long dresses and red lips. But then the chorus hits, and actually, it was a big band jazz performance the whole time. A whole band is revealed behind the stage screen. I think it would be neat. The second vocal unit is between Stacey and Dreamcatcher. Stacey submits Xiyeon and Yoon as their main and lead vocalist pair, while Dreamcatcher submits Xiyeon and Yoohyun as theirs. I think that the synergy of their voices would end up creating a great balance because they're all very distinct with different strengths. Unexpectedly, however, I think they would choose IU's extremely melancholic ballad Love Poem, but stripped down to its bare essentials. I can even hear Xiyeon opening it right now, followed by Yoohyun, then Xiyeon on the first half of the chorus and Yoon on the second. On the second verse, a violin and some light drums enter the mix. Extra points if they actually have the instrumentalists on stage. The final vocal unit is then Weekly and A-Pink, the junior-senior combination I think many people would have been waiting for. Weekly sent the same members as on Road to Queendom, those being Monday and Jihan, main and lead vocalists once again. A-Pink also sent their own main and lead vocal combo with Eunji and Namju. For some reason, I think they would lean into more of an R&B ballad, kind of a cozy feeling, which is why I was immediately drawn to Mamamoo's Rainy Season. And Namju and Monday also have rapper roles, so they could easily cover Moonbyeol's parts. I could see them doing a very warm brown staging with couches and standing lamps, maybe having the LED screen show rain in the background, then having them stand up and walk to the mic stand during the bridge.
It's your rainy day.
This is going to be extremely difficult to rate. Oh boy. Now, Koreans love a good ballad, so I think they would have Love Poem win, but Korea also loves a power vocal, so I'm torn on whether Rainy Season or I'll Show You will pull through with second place. I really don't want A-Pink in the bottom again, but I think they're gonna have to be. Dreamcatcher and Stacey 2,500 points, Changha and Billy 1,500, Weekly and A-Pink 500 I fear. That brings us to the dance unit. Each team sends a representative dancer or dancers to perform one of 3 original songs. Team 1 is made up of Weekly Seon and Soojin, representing their group again, as well as Dreamcatcher Sua, Jiyu, and Dami, being their main dancer and 2 lead dancer. My extensive research assigned them to Everglow's Dun Dun. Referencing my last video, Mask took the win on that one, and I think this song would be slightly reminiscent. I think most of the contestants would be drawn to it, but Dreamcatcher ranking first would kick another contestant out of the song. I could see the staging including some giant flags, maybe incorporated into the choreo, maybe not. While I think the performances themselves wouldn't be bad, I think it might get kaboomed in the sense it looks good on paper, but is the impact really there on stage? We will see. Changha teams up with Stacey's Jae and Sumin, definitely not uncommon for girl group main rappers to be in the dance line, I'm noticing. They got assigned to the somewhat experimental track in XG's Tippy Toes. Now, is it my favorite XG track? Not even close, but you can't deny it has a lot of interesting performance elements, and that would draw a dancer like Changha to it. In my head, Stacey got booted from Dun Dun by Dreamcatcher, and that's how they landed in this performance, but I think they would bring it, especially with support from Changha and the choreographer. Who knows, they might bring back Street Woman Fighter 2 crews, and I could definitely see Jam Republic choreographing to this, even though I never watched the show.
keep you on your tippy toes.
The final team is then Billy's Tsuki and Sean paired with A-Pink's Bami and Choron, or Chobon. These two groups probably had wildly different dance training, but I could see Mnet pull some edit about how they learned from each other and A-Pink think 4th gen groups are so impressive, stuff like that. To me, they would do a song like Bandit's Jungle. It's a very new flavor for Queendom, but I could see it happening and being surprisingly impressive once all the staging elements are together. The lyrics to all of these songs are very Queendom as well, but I think this one is the most overt. However, I think this song kind of has the most killing parts, all things considered. I could see them doing like a snake choreo in the bridge.
In the jungle, call my name.
Another pretty difficult choice in terms of winners, but honestly, I think Jungle is taking it. Going last is going to be a big boost, going after Tippy Toes is going to be a big boost, and I think Tsuki being highlighted would probably bring in a lot of fans. So to me, it would be Billy and A-Pink 2,500 points, Chungha and Stacey 1,500 points, and Weekly and Dreamcatcher 500. That brings our total score to Dreamcatcher 15,400, Chungha 13,100, Billy 12,800, Weekly 10,300, Stacey 10,300, A-Pink 8,500. But there's still 10,000 points left for this round because now it's time for the fan-dedicated song. A-Pink start off the round strong with their fan-dedicated 5th anniversary song, The Wave. I can see them doing the intro a cappella and bringing the classic Our Journey on the LED screens as popularized by Mamamoo's I Miss You. It's genuinely one of my favorite A-Pink songs, and I personally think it's kind of a no-brainer. I could see them doing kind of an Into the New World ballad version circle with an extra chorus before the bridge.
네가 손짓해주면 난 할 수 있어. 너만 믿어.
I'm really still debating what song Billy would do because I think their discography is kind of impeccable, but after a lot of back and forth, I settled on The Rumor. It's a lot of fans' favorite song, but beyond that, I think it's also one of their representative songs in terms of lore and group identity. I think they would go all out with the staging, playing up the theatricality of the song and highlighting how The Rumor spreads across the stage. Perhaps this season's representative musical stage? I'm also still considering Brave and Nevertheless.
That's her. Na 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 na, for real. Na 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 na, that's her. Na 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 na.
Originally, I had Dreamcatcher doing Jazz Bar because, like Insomnia's, I can never get enough of that song and need it to be performed always at all times. However, I think Dreamcatcher would rather choose a song they haven't performed before, and I think In the Frozen would be a perfect choice. Fans want to see it live, and they could even tie the performance into Maison. This sad/epic orchestral remix just highlights how amazing it would sound as a continuation of the Maison stage. I think it would be extra cool if they had something like the flower accessory Jisoo had for Flower to create the flower that blooms in the Frozen. I do think most Chungha fans would want to see her perform Stay Tonight or Bother Me, and honestly, I want to see her do it too. But a bigger part of me thinks she would want to dedicate this performance to thanking fans for being there with her through everything. So I think she would actually do a track like Byorarang. It's a very stripped down acoustic track, which I think she could play to her advantage by wearing a light, flowy white dress, spotlight on her in the intro, in the chorus the whole venue lights up like stars, including the screens. Then in the second verse, notes from fans fade in and out. She could end it with a clip of her making something, and when the song closes, she shows it to the camera and it's You're My Light. Fade away the video, text remains, then a ton of videos of Byorarangs greeting Chungha, doing hearts, holding up signs, etc. I have a vision, okay?
You're the light shining so bright in my heart.
I also wasn't really sure what song Weekly should do, and I seriously considered Memories of Summer Rain, and I honestly haven't fully discounted that yet. However, I thought they might want to do a song that's meaningful but could still be easily performed with choreo and everything, and I landed on My Earth. Not quite sure how they would pull off the performance aspect, but that's why I'm not a choreographer. I could definitely see it being a really fun stage highlighting Weekly's charms. The competition ends with Stacey doing a song I think even non-Swifts are waiting for, Young Love. I could see them doing a pretty simple stage with stand mics. The song is so charming on its own. I don't think it even really needs choreo or anything complicated, just the live version would be enough. But perhaps they could have the LED screens telling a story behind them. I think if anything, the most important thing for this stage is to show people that Stacey have amazing B-sides. And the votes are in. This is a really difficult category because fandom feelings make everything complicated. Some fandoms appreciate emotional appeals, usually the older fandoms. Others prefer proof of performance, usually the younger ones. So I'm a bit torn. In first place, getting the entire 10,000 points is... I think this would be a bit of a shocker, but I'm pretty sure A-Pink are taking it. Never doubt the power of nostalgia. Also, I think a lot of fans would be worried about them possibly being eliminated right before the finale, and so would gather some extra votes like that. Extra points if Mnet editing manipulations have the A-Pink girls talking like they've already been booted, and this is like... they're just making the stage for the fans, not to win. Audiences love that. In second, gathering 7,800 points is Billie. I think audiences will generally be impressed with the rumor since it showcases so much of Billie, from their skills to their story, and honestly, it was the song that got me to fall in love with them. It really sits with you. Third place with an impressive 6,600 is Dreamcatcher's In the Frozen. Again, fandom power comes in really strong, but also I just think they would have a genuinely impressive stage. However, I think they would have lost a lot of secondary voters to A-Pink and Billie for this round. Fourth is Chungha's emotion-filled performance, collecting 5,400 points. In fifth is Stacey with 4,700 points. As much as I love the song, I think the peak end rule would be their downfall on this one. Weekly land in the bottom at 3,300 points. I think their downfall would just be being in the middle of emotion and performance focus without leaning heavily into either. Also, they're coming into the competition with the least amount of general public recognition, and I wouldn't exactly say My Earth is public friendly, even though it is one of my favorites from Weekly. So the winner of this round combined is A-Pink with 13,000 points, while the last place combined is Weekly with 4,300. IST is tearing their hair out. The ranks shift to reflect Dreamcatcher 22,000, Billie 20,600, A-Pink 18,500, Chungha 18,500, Stacey 15,000, Weekly 13,600. There's still 15,000 points on the line, and like with Road to Queendom, I'm basing it off of Spotify monthly listeners, but adjusting Weekly and Chungha down by 300,000 to account for After School and Gotta Go, which get a lot of casual listeners that won't necessarily tune in for the comeback. In first place is thus Stacey at almost 3 million monthly listeners. They take the entire 5,000 points, adding up to 20,000. After them is Chungha with 3,400 points, totaling 21,900. Then Billie with 1,950 points, or 22,550 total. In fourth is Dreamcatcher with 1,870 points, combined into 23,870, followed by Weekly with 1,725, or 15,350 points. And finally, A-Pink with around 1,600 points, totaling 20,100. That brings us to the finale, the comeback round. We open with Stacey, who I think would choose their signature bright synth pop, but with an anthemic Queendom twist, so I landed on Rocket Punch's Chiquita. I'm not quite sure 100% on the staging, but for some reason I'm feeling really Tron, really la-di-da, in the sense that like synthwave and motorcycles go together. They could have Yoon on a motorcycle as their intro, then the LED screens could replicate this kind of synthwave landscape rushing by. Weekly are clearly trying to do a rebrand, and I will support them. I think they went too heavy into Enpara, but they're making up for it, and I know just the way to continue this, and mixes Love Me Like This. It hits the sweet spot between fresh and youthful, and the kind of strong performance you would expect from a Queendom single. I could imagine their stage to be a bit more stripped down, but the styling to be similar to that slightly grunge-inspired look NMIXX had for the music video, perhaps even with a live band on stage. Maybe Jihan could have a guitar break with the band around the bridge.
Love me like this, love me like that, love me like this, love me like that, love me like.
I know in my heart of hearts that the one song Billie will pull for this will be Signature's Asa. That song is exactly their brand of title track, with how it's just familiar enough and just experimental enough to get stuck in your head, and I know they would body the choreo. Again, I'm not 100% on the staging, but I know Billie would make the choreo intricate and engaging. I think it would also signal the third part and chapter 2 of their Collective Soul and Unconscious series. I feel like the white suits would be the best styling option against a kind of rave-like backdrop, extremely colorful like the Ginga Minga Yo music video. I debated heavily on if there was even a group doing something similar enough to Dreamcatcher that I could use it as a reference to what their comeback single might sound like, and I really thought it was over for me. The rock influence has really only been brought back on a proper scale by i-dle, but their songs don't sound like Dreamcatcher. Then there's Pixie, but they barely used it, so there's also Pink Fantasy, but their concept is way more horror, and Dreamcatcher moved beyond that. Then I remembered, FX's Red Light. It's perfect. Even if it doesn't really have the rock influence, you could easily replace a lot of the instrumentals with rock and still have the same impact. It's also a social commentary song. Granted, the widely accepted interpretation is that it's a criticism of the people who caused the Sewol ferry accident, but you can also interpret it to fit Dreamcatcher's current environmental conservation message. The best way to go would obviously be to lean into the dystopia vibes and the revolution look they had going on in Scream and Odd Eye and Boca. From the beginning, there was only ever one choice for Chungha's song, Boa's Woman. I knew instinctively it was one of the first things I decided when I confirmed Chungha for my lineup. I think it might work better for Chungha if you think of it as a little bit pitched down. I know it's not a requirement for this song to have Queendom vibes or a feminist message, but you look me in the eye and tell me Chungha wouldn't immediately seize the chance to have just that. It really doesn't matter to me what she does with it on stage, but we definitely need a moment like that upside down walk. Also, I think the song would be way more explosive in Chungha's vocal tone, and with the added benefit of pyrotechnics to emphasize the chorus. That brings us to the final stage, A-Pink. I really had no idea what direction they might go. They've moved a bit away from the style Black Eyed Pilsen gave them from I'm So Sick until Dilemma, and D&D is objectively a lot lighter and more fromis. It feels like the right point for A-Pink, so I was leaning into something like that. Then I saw Forever One on my playlist suggestion, and I thought, that's it! But still, not quite. And then I remembered Kara's When I Move, and it was sealed. It's such a perfect blend of 2nd gen and 4th gen styles, and it fully encapsulates how long they've been together. I don't think the stage itself would be crazy elaborate, more like it's just focused on having fun and closing the show with a giant party. Maybe a bit controversial, but since this round is really determined by fandom power, I think Weekly are losing with 3,500 points, finishing the show at 18,850. I don't think that should be shocking given they're the Road to Queendom group. Not far behind is Chungha with 3,800. I still think both stages would be a hot topic and something people would bring up for years after the show, but similarly to Weekly, the fandom power isn't really there and soloists really grind to a halt as the competition progresses while the groups keep gaining. Her final score would thus be 25,700. A-Pink take 4th, collecting 4,100 points for a total of 24,200. Nostalgia can only take you so far, and there's a reason why they're past their prime, but I think more frontrunner fandoms will give them their second vote because they're a safe option leading them to take over Chungha. Finally, in the top 3, I think 3rd place and 5,800 points is going to Stacy. Going first helped for sure, but Stacy are generally a likable group with good production and live performances. Their final score lands them in the current first place with 25,800 total points. With 1,370 points between them and 10,000 still to be allocated, whoever wins this round is the final winner. The winner of the comeback round is Dreamcatcher, taking home a total of 33,870 points. Billy are a close second with 8,400 points from this round, ending the show with 30,950 points. But perhaps the real prize was the friends we made along the way.